man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my
And
pleasure. I always enjoy the conversations.
yeah, absolutely. And before we get into your life as a consultant and an author, I want to begin by asking about 4 years ago, we were all wrapping our heads around this pandemic. How
Mm,
long was it going to last? How was it going to reverberate in our lives?
yeah.
How did you survive that time period and how did it change you?
Um, well, it was interesting because I was in consulting at the time. I'd been in it for about a year, and all of my clients moved immediately into that wait and see category. Like everyone, like you said, was trying to figure out where do we go from here. And so I ended up with a lot of potential client conversations and potential project opportunities. And so that left me a lot of time to sit and reflect. And to be honest, the book that I wrote probably got its seeds at that time because I had all of that sort of wait and see time to reflect. I had this moment, I think it was October 2020, where I just like woke up at 2 in the morning and all of those ideas I'd been coalescing came to the surface. And I wrote this acronym EPIC, which stands for Environment, Performance, Identity, Communication. That's the sort of beating heart of the program that I do for most of my work and the book that I wrote. And so, like, I think if I wouldn't have slowed down, I don't know if I ever would have let those ideas would have caught up with me. Um, but it was also the other side of it. Like, I wasn't traveling as much. My wife was going to work with me in the business, so we learned a lot about each other uh, on that front. Like, we could spend 25 hours a day together, but the type of work we enjoy doing are very different. Um, she likes intensity, I like chaos. And while those usually people think are similar and kind of come in the same package, if you think about the punctuation with them, they're very different.
Yeah.
Chaos is all about question marks, and intensity is all about exclamation points. So she likes the boom, boom, beat, beat, go, go, and I like the like. Let's figure this out. Like, what's the problem in front of us? Um, so it was a very actually chill time for us as we spent that time together. It's just drained our bank account as we figured out how to make the work side of it happen. So it started out chill for 2020 and then kind of got a little intense as we figured out how to get back to work.
So it sounds like you have an engineering mind and she has either a rock star or jazz mentality.
Yeah, and funny, she used to work the door for a jam band in Chicago for about
Oh,
10 years.
there you go. That's it. Yeah, no, I dig it. I get what you're saying because I'm more of in the whole intense thing. In fact, I never thought I would get a tattoo, and my stepdaughter really got into it and
Yeah.
gave me a tattoo, and it's two exclamation points. So I get it. I'm totally there.
Oh man, that jives. I think you and my wife would hang out and listen to the same music. It'd be
Y-
good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis here in
Yeah.
2024. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. One of the curious kids looks up and asks you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I help people enjoy what they're doing and find the things they enjoy doing so they can do more of that.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Third grade. I think my dream was just to be on a team. Like I have no idea exactly like that. I don't think I ever had career aspirations. I'm not a planner. I'm
Yeah.
a creator, and so it's kind of like what's in front of me. I think my favorite position to be in is a MacGyver. I love when you give me four items and say solve a problem that doesn't make any sense. And so but I love doing that with people. So whatever I was doing, it was with a team, and that's the thing that I think has been the throughput. If I've always just wanted to be on a team, working with people.
So let's go back to the beginnings of your life. Where were you born and raised, and what were these seeds that came into you to be a creator, to want to be on a team, to help people get their dreams? How did this happen?
Uh, well, like moved a lot growing up. My dad's a pastor. Mom kind of social work and nursing is like the backbone of a lot of her stuff, but she was mostly as we moved what was available based on where we were at. Did most of the growing up in the Midwest. But it's really, I think the biggest thing that I got from that, and I think where the teamwork and all that came in, is when you're the new kid all the time, like every 2 to 4 years, I was the new kid. You read group dynamics really well, and it's sort of that. The negative side is that's a survival mechanism. The positive side is you really get to pay attention to people. You get a lot of opportunities to sort of check in on your own identity and figure out where you fit. And so I've always loved seeing almost like sometimes I tell people it feels similar to like the Matrix. You sort of just see how it's all working in the background, and sometimes I forget that those are details that other people don't recognize. And so figuring out how to just make the small tweaks, like, if you just did this job a little differently, or if you were in this space, or you reacted to this person with this language, you'd have a very different outcome. And helping people figure that out. So like one of the formulas I work with people is like situation plus response or reaction equals your outcome. And the difference between a response and reaction is just conscious awareness. So helping people become more consciously aware of that. And I think that skill to move from reaction to response was garnered through the consistency of moving around, being the new kid, and then having to figure out who I was in the midst of these new environments over and over again.
So during this time and even up to now, who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration for you?
Hero inspiration. Well, for sure, my dad and my mom. But for like my dad, with all the moving, like his passion and consistent drive to be what he wanted to be in the world and keep looking for opportunities. Like he's one of the most resilient people I know, and uh, sometimes reactive, but will always come back to be responsive. And so learned a lot about humility and being present. And my mom, just the flexing and constantly, uh, how do we figure out how to be with what we have in this moment as we shift? And I think the biggest thing, if I sum that all up, is my parents just time and again showed me that people are more important than things, and that the opportunity with things is to serve people. And so as we do everything that we do, how is that supporting the community? How is that helping um, build up this relationship, this connection? And so that plus, my faith is a big part of who I am. Then that comes from both of them.
Yeah, I would imagine in their line of work, that's the cornerstone of what they do and what their mission is. So, um, so let me ask you this, whether it's in your work or otherwise, if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or inspirational, and you could spend some time with them, who would that be?
Uh, Fascinating, inspirational. I'm gonna split that in half because I really want to spend some time with Donald Trump. Like I really like that's the fascinating side. It's like there's so much caricature, there's so much persona built up into that individual, that I want to just be like, where's the truth and the fiction or the fabrication or the that would be like just sit down and have some conversation. I think another individual, uh, Patrick Lencioni. He's written some fantastic books. He's got a great consulting company, and the way he built it up and his just honesty with who he is in that process. I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee and spend the day with that guy.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What is your inspiration, motivation every day to get up, to do the work that you do? Because it's not just a job. You're helping others. You're giving a lot of yourself, but you also have to evolve as a human. What is
Yeah.
that overall motivation for you?
Um, to learn about, like, I guess, energy efficiency. Like that's the way I would put it. Like to take it to the other side, like what's my fear that I'm working against? Because that's also a driver. That the sum of my parts or the whole will be less than the sum of my parts. That I won't, um, you know, make the best of the gifts that I've been given. And what I want to really do is like my focus is the concept of fulfillment, both for myself and for others, as a sort of simple formula of the energy we invest in things and the value it produces for us. If that's a positive return, that's a fulfilling experience, which is also a sustainable experience. And so I've actually turned that lens on myself over the years and said, what is it that I'm looking to accomplish, and where am I finding energy drains, and where am I not finding the value propositions? Um, So my biggest drive is continually working that formula and saying, what is it? Where do I not find fulfillment? What is missing in that moment? Who do I need to talk to figure this out? Because one of the truths of human existence, I believe, is we all have blind spots. And by definition, those are things we cannot see ourselves. So, where am I finding the trusted partners to help me see my own matrix, the parts of my own way I'm in the world that I just don't even realize? Because a lot of times those are small tweaks. So, it's just being in conversations with honest, trusted partners. Then, yeah, just keep the conversation going.
So what's been one of your favorite client success stories so far?
Favorite client success stories. It's just working with a an organization where they really were driven by like kind of a conscious consumerism culture, like this inclusivity, this positive piece. What are we missing? Like we want to get this done, but we're not quite there. And finding that really the thing was is just you need process, like documented process, and it's just because that's a consistent refrain of my. A lot of my background is supply chain and operations, and so I'm like Lean Six Sigma, all of like PMP, certifications in that space. But working with people where like they really want to take care of their people and helping them understand like the structure, the environment, the way you set up that space, those things that seem mundane and boring and sort of like let's get past that as quickly as we can so that we can take care of people. Really realizing that once you set up that process, once you set up that environment, and you give people that clarity, that's going to create that fulfillment because it's the less energy drain and process actually helps you understand the value of what you're doing. So it was working with this organization. It's like, but process is just like that's like corporate-y, that's bureaucratic, that's all these other things that they've labeled. And so helping them understand that this thing that they would never have gone towards on their own because it felt like an anathema to who they were was actually the solution to the problem that they were experiencing. So helping them set that up and then watching their people thrive in that space was yeah, it's a consistent refrain, but that was one that sticks out to me.
So you got all kinds of books back behind you. I'm curious, what was the book for you when you were younger? What was that book that really cemented things or was really seminal in your development?
Um, well, Lord of the Rings was, I mean, I love that series. I've read it a couple of times, and The Hobbit along with it, and so that was definitely one of them. I was really into even just theology. Like I loved reading people's thoughts about worldviews, and so I've got a lot of Bonhoeffer back there. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a Lutheran theologian during World War II, and just he was so good at the plain speak of how people operate in that space, like cost of discipleship, cheap grace, costly grace. These concepts of what I love about it is that worldview is, I think, the thing that fascinates me more. And so, like J.R.R. Tolkien, like creating this whole world and this the language behind it, you have to think about how the world operates before you can do that. And then, Bonhoeffer is helping us understand like worldview from his perspective, and those conversations with other people talking about worldview is really what I mean. I'm always looking for like where are the visceral reactions? Where do you like go? Yes, this is this and this is so true, and oh that push it away anathema. Like that's the opposite of who I am, because those are challenges to our worldview. That's I feel the same way outside of books. I'm a big movie buff because movies basically you have an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to convince people of a worldview and then tell a story within that world. And when people react strongly to a movie, it tends to be because it challenges or validates their worldview. And that's basically the either unconscious or conscious view of how we think the world's supposed to operate versus how we see it actually operating. And then those conversation points are just that's what fascinates me is like figuring out what are people looking for in their worldview. So I'm always reading books to get other people's ideas on how that comes through for them.
So let me ask you this. You have to dispense good advice to your clients. What's the
Yeah.
best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I've ever gotten. Uh, I would say that it was from a manager that I had, and he basically, like, I was early in my career working my way up, and he said, if you can't get the work done in 40 to 45 hours on a regular basis, that's something that's on management side. That's something that we're not, either we've put you in the wrong role, we haven't trained you up, we're overloading you, but something's missing. He's like, if you ever hit that like 45 hours of work a week, know that that's something that's on our side that we need to solve for. So like bring that to the table. And as an early, champion at the bit to make my mark and tell people like I'm good at what I do, the amount of stress that alleviated for me, just to know that if I got to that point where I was probably trending towards burnout, I could talk to him. Um, it might even have just been a throwaway comment for him, but it really resonated with me of that that simple concept alleviated so much energy drain opportunity for me that I've used that time and time again when I've been in management spaces. And it's one of the pieces of advice I give to all of the teams that I work with is if your people can't get it done in 45 hours a week on an average amount, that's something that's on the organizational side. Like that's not the person.
Yeah.
You need to think about that differently. And that's been huge for me.
So of all of the things that you've done and evolved and achieved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
That's the simplest one. Dad, like to me, that's the only title I really care about.
Yeah.
Like I've got three amazing kids, and we're a foster care site. Like I just love children. Like just the being present and creating that safety and space, and then the amazing ideas that they come up with. Like is they remind me I'm old and help me be young. Like I don't know, it's like
Yeah.
this crazy mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my favorite. Just being dad.
Absolutely. So everyone has a perception of you, all these circles of people in your life, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, uh, Creative, non-anxious presence who needs good partners to stay grounded.
Excellent. That was a tweet. That's excellent. You got it right there. That was like a poem. So hey, if anyone wants to pick up your book, they want to learn more about you, hire you, reach out, any of the good business, how do they do that?
Yeah, best way find me at my website, flipthescript.io. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. The book, Manage Your Gaps, Reclaiming the Awesomeness of Management, available on Amazon as of late June 2024. So that would probably be the easiest way to go about getting the book.
Okay. Matt, this has been wonderful, man. Thank you so much for being open and thank you for your story. Best of luck with the book and everything else, man. It's a great story.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.